From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. If your son or daughter is serious about college athletics, call them at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athletes.
Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer. It is the Up All Night edition. If yesterday was the After Dark edition, tonight is the Up All Night edition. So welcome to all our supporters, all our listeners. I'm sure you have had an excess of over 12 hours of Texas high school soccer, and we're here to finish it up, do the nightcap to top it off. So, Rafa, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, just pulling double duty tonight. We just did the Texas, the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable roundup for San Antonio FC for the last game against Orange County, and then we had a preview for tomorrow night's game versus El Paso Loco. So we had members of Loco podcast to come on just to give a little preview of the game and analysis, and also give some props to Bernie, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then just a little overview of what we're going to talk about, for the next week as for the big game versus Austin FC and the Lamar Hunt Cup.
Nice, yeah, and a big shout out to my guys, the Seriously Loco guys, who I know they do a tremendous job with their podcast too. So big listener, supporter of them as well. Just in terms of what they do, it's an absolutely great podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, both the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable podcast that Rafa and Harry are on, but also the Seriously Loco podcast, which highlights the El Paso Locomotive in the USL, but they hit on so much more stuff beyond just that, obviously. But it's a very objective, very good insight. So to all things USL and lower division soccer as well. So yeah, all right, well, awesome. So let's what a crazy. It started crazy with Rockwall and Ridgepoint, and it ended crazy with Seven Lakes and Plano. So. So we're going to look over 5 matches today, all 5 matches today, we kicked off the 6A. The big boys joined us, big girls, right? And 6A joined the party today with a pair of 6A girls semifinals to start off the day, with a 4A boys final sandwiched in there. And then we wrapped up with our 2 6A boys semifinals as well. So initial thoughts before we start diving into the matches, Coach?
Well, we had some, like I said, we had some intriguing matchups today, and also we had one for the final, the 4A boys final between the defending champ and like I said, like a new kid on the block as far as a newcomer into the final, and an up and coming program. So it was going to be and we knew it was going to be an exciting day for soccer.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll start off. We'll go to the first one right out of the gate, 9:30 a.m. Our first 6A girls semifinal, Fort Bend Ridgepoint and Rockwall. Fort Bend entered the match as the number 1 team in the state and the last lone remaining undefeated program, boys or girls, in the state of Texas. They came in 26-0 versus Rockwall, coming in at 21-3-2, and of course Rockwall had to knock off a very strong Duncanville squad as well, just to get here. So all kind of the initial thoughts were that it's like, hey, Rockwall was going to come to play, but that Ridge Point might be a little too much, might be too powerful, that they might eventually figure things out. But apparently, Rockwall never got the memo on that, right?
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of the times a lot of the teams usually don't get the memo, and they like to flex their own muscle and like to, like I said, sometimes your program wants to prove everyone wrong, all the critics wrong, and then it happens, And today, Rockwall came in, they weren't intimidated. This like in order for us to reach our goal, we're gonna have to knock off like a Goliath, and they took care of business today. They're in the first game against Ridge Point.
Yeah, so it started. It was a very, very intense, very physical. I mean, you want to talk about a battle, slugfest, insert whatever adjective you want, but it was a tough, drag out fight, so to speak. And a lot of people, I did see a lot of commentary that a lot of people thought that the officials were the center referee did a great job in this match for how heated it got, how intense it was getting, but very, very physical contest. Rockwall comes away with it, winning it in overtime, 4-2. How it played out was pretty interesting though, because you saw it was 1-1 with 20 minutes remaining in regulation, right? And then all of a sudden that we get two more goals back and forth. This entire match was back and forth, right? Ridge Point takes the lead, Rockwall comes back, and then the exact same thing in the final 8 minutes, as we saw two more goals for each, one goal apiece for each squad to make it 2-2. One team scoring in 8 minutes remaining, the other team scoring with 3 minutes remaining to send it into overtime. Then in overtime, we got in overtime, and it turned into the Rockwall freshman Morgan Countryman. It turned into the Morgan Countryman show, right? She scores a goal in the first overtime with about 5 minutes remaining. Then you see the clear momentum shift, because as that goal happened, we also see Ridge Point have to play a player down, right? So they play a player down for essentially the last 15 minutes of the match, right? All of the second overtime plus the last 5 minutes of the first overtime. So, so in that, you see in the second overtime, once again, they're able to convert inside of the last 5 minutes. Morgan Countryman steps up again, scores another one, and really seals it in what was just an incredible contest, incredible matchup. And Rockwall really surprising a lot of people. Shout out to Rockwall goalkeeper Faith Graves, who had 8 saves, had some incredible saves on the night as well, or on the day, I should say. And the interesting piece with Ridge Point was, they had only allowed 4 goals the entire season, and that's what they allowed. That's what they allowed today. What are your thoughts on that when you look back on this one?
I think I don't know if Ridgeport underestimated them, thinking, hey, we can take care of this game. Or were they looking past this game and say, yeah, we'll be in the final? And like I said, Rockwall just, they had to had to grind it out. If they're ever gonna win this game, they had to grind it out, keep it close. Just stay within striking distance. And then and that's what they did. They came back in that second goal, and they had some momentum going into that overtime. And like I said, Morgan, like I mentioned, it was the Morgan show. She took over, and she made Ridgeport pay dearly in the overtime, and Ridgeport just couldn't recover from that. And it was a big effort by Rockwall to knock them off, and now they have an opportunity to finish the story, and get some hardware, especially the gold hardware tomorrow afternoon.
Right. So shout out to the Ridge Point Panthers, who obviously had a tongue. We talked about it yesterday. We felt like maybe they had the biggest chip on their shoulder after the huge disappointment in the early round last year and this year. So this year they make it to state, but things things in overtime. They just didn't go as to plan. But congratulations on a great season to the Panthers. And yeah, I mean, really really tough one, and they end the season 26. Their lone loss of the season comes in the state semifinal, but congratulations to them. Rockwall advances to tomorrow's 6A state final, which will take place at approximately 4 p.m. 4 p.m. tomorrow. They're at Birkelbach, where they will face the winner of our next match that we were talking about, South Lake Carroll, who came in 21-1-4 on the season, versus Austin Westlake at 20-3 in the second girls 6A semifinal. What were your thoughts on this one going into this one?
These two schools are kind of like little mirror image of each other, as far as talent, the type of district they play in, the tradition, as far as in every sport they excel in almost in every single sport, especially football. And if that was a football game, that was a state championship the year before, So, um, this was gonna be a really good competitive game. Um, but the one thing is that Westlake got in. It was able to knock off, like I said, like a really good Brendan O'Connor team and a good Reagan team. Would that had been different had maybe like Travis not fell to Johnson? We don't know. But they took advantage of it. They said that's how playoffs play. Roll.
Right.
And so they took care of business and won the region, even though they finished second in district. They knew they said, hey, we have an opportunity to hopefully get into the final, but we ran they were running into another team that was just a buzzsaw that knocked off some really good teams in the Dallas Metroplex area. You got to give it to South Lake Carroll as far as who they've beaten. For them to have one loss all year, and that was against really good, like I said, a really good like Travis team. The high ironic is that they're playing a team from that same district, and then this could have been another rematch too from earlier season, but they went through the gauntlet. They beat like Lewis Allen, Louisville Marcus. Two tough programs in itself, and so like I said, it was one of the games that you were really like how we didn't know how it was going to balance, how is it going to turn, because they can, like I said, either one could kind of flex their muscle and see, and took over the game. So, but what a game it was, and the team that really wanted it more showed it today.
Right. Yeah. And so so South Lake Carroll, they from the onset controlled possession, connecting passes, and you could tell right away. Westlake was playing in I guess a low block to a semi-low block. Their line of confrontation, where they were going to pick up, where they were going to initially provide any pressure, was about midfield or so. A lot of numbers behind the ball, so they were kind of conceding that they were going to allow South Lake Carroll control the ball for large stretches, right?
Mm-hmm.
At 20, so about 13 minutes in, 14 minutes in, senior Hannah Khan gets her first goal of the night, of the day, I should say. 18-yard strike off of a great pass from, I believe it was Zoe Matthews, and Carroll controls possession throughout. Westlake picks their moments. They have a hard time initiating any real counterattack in transition when they win the ball, because of how deep they were and how many numbers they had the ball. So what you started seeing there a little bit was their lone true number 9 kind of becoming isolated, or having to drop in further and further and further into the midfield to try to remain connected to the rest of the team. But Westlake did have their moments, especially late. I'd say maybe in the last 10 minutes or so of the first half. Started finding some space, started having some figuring some things out on the right wing, particularly on the right wing, trying to get some service in there. But again, their issue was just getting numbers forward. So Carroll goes in at halftime, up 1-0. Second half, they come out. It starts really the same way as the first half. 8 minutes in, Hannah Khan gets her second one of the day, pretty much from the exact same, I guess, same part of the field, just a few yards further back. 22-yard strike that gets past the keeper, strikes the bottom. It's one of those typical strikes the bottom of the crossbar and then takes the bounces in. So Tua allowed way too much space and makes you pay. So the senior, and the interesting part with Hannah Khan is she was on that 2019 team that last won state, right? So this is a very young South Lake Carroll team. And we talked about, some of their players, some of their contributors, some of their great passers. And the one that was really making a lot of things go, attacking that midfield, forcing Westlake to collapse a lot, was the freshman, the U.S. Youth National Team call-up, Kennedy Fuller. She was very instrumental in this matchup. And it was pretty much at that point, you really couldn't see Westlake was just having a hard time to get any true looks, any decent shots, if you will. And then Zoe Matthews puts the nail in the coffin for good it was already within the final seconds anyway, but this one ends South Lake Carroll 3, Austin Westlake 0. So South Lake Carroll advances to the 6A girls final, and where they will take on the previous match we just discussed, Rockwall. They advance to the final. They are now 21-1-4 on the season, and Westlake will finishes the season 20-4 on the year. Congratulations to the Chaparrals.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting matchup going in that final between Carroll and Rockwall. And like I said, Carroll's going to be the favorite, and we all know that. But you saw what Rockwall did to Ridgepoint,
right?
And Carroll needs to be wary of that. If they can't keep that a team, if they got to do the same thing what they did against Westlake is put them away. Because if you keep Rockwall, in this game, they're gonna believe, and gonna say one little mistake or one little freak play could cost you the state title. So, but it's gonna be a great, like I said, it's gonna be a great game, and like I said, I do give the edge to Salt Lake Carroll on this, but be wary of what Rockwall can do, and if like I said, Rockwall has some confidence. They said they can play with, like I said, quote unquote, with the big teams, and they're not gonna lay down and roll dead for Salt Lake Carroll. They're gonna give everything they got tomorrow.
Yeah, and the other thing we talked about it also, so that completes with Rockwall and South Lake Carroll today. That completes the trifecta of we talked about 5A yesterday and the 4A girls final. So we will see a clean sweep of Dallas-Fort Worth. Will be assured that a state champion will come out of their area for all three, 4A, 5A, and 6A out of the greater DFW Metroplex, because all three of those finals, 4A, 5A, and 6A, will all have two Metroplex teams facing one another in the state title matchup. So with both 5A and 6A happening tomorrow, and we'll discuss that a little bit more when we look at tomorrow's final schedule as well. So, all right. So moving on, our other second final of the championship week that we had was slated today, the 4A boys final, another one that we were looking forward to, and I know a lot of people in our neck of the woods where we reside, we're really looking forward to this one, as you had Bernie, the defending state champion, the Bernie Greyhounds, coming in at 25-2-1 on the year, facing the Salina Bobcats, coming in at 21-3-1 on the year. And kind of two teams, obviously they're going for a state title, both want the state title, but also history in different way for both teams, right? You had Salina looking to make the double and really stake their claim as the 4A school in all of soccer, right? Both having seen their girls team just win a state title yesterday. And then you had Bernie, who was vying to make two different sets of history, where they were trying to become the first team from the San Antonio area in soccer to ever win back-to-back state titles. And then also, I think you had Coach Strong becoming the first, I think only the fourth, fourth coach to defend a title
Mhm.
in all sports out of San Antonio. So some history there either way. So um, or as you were watching this one unfold, what did you notice early in this one, Coach?
Well, early on, like I said, Solana struck first. So I saw the message on there, and then I was like, "Well, are we gonna have a repeat again of the last game?" Stafford scored first too, and then the avalanche of goals came in that game. It's like, well, knowing Bernie, because they've done this before with a few teams already. They say, "Hey, no sweat, we'll come back," and they equalized, and so I was just waiting and waiting. Okay, well, okay, but they went tied at 1-1 at the half. I said, "All right, we'll see the 7 goal bunch coming up from them that we always expect them because we're accustomed to now from them." And but that didn't happen. You know, it remained tied, and kudos to Solana's defense
Right.
to keep this game tied. And Bernie had a lot of chances that could put away on you know and during regular time, and they just couldn't get it in. And uh, going into overtime, I'm sure Solana kind of felt good. It's like, hey, here's our chance. We're taking them to the limit because Bernie hasn't been in an overtime game, and here's an opportunity to pull off like I said, an upset here. Since we're they're defending state champs, but Bernie found just kept the pressure and able to get a penalty kick and able to score that in. And I think Solana went down a man and they just couldn't recover after that. And then, like I said, Bernie ended up getting their back-to-back titles, and Coach Strong getting the Gatorade bath for the victory. So
Yeah.
congratulations to him on that. On that.
Yeah, we look back at the timeline on this one, and just like you said, Salina strikes first, 8 minutes in, pretty quick. They
Mm.
struck pretty fast, and then I think it was about 12, 13 minutes remaining in that first half. Bernie figures it out on a corner kick. I know there was a lot of questions as to as to who that corner kick header actually came off of, but credit goes to Joe Ballinger. So it goes in 1-1 at the half. And then, yeah, I mean, it was interesting to watch because as a matchup, they were like, you had Salina that was pushing, pushing, pushing. They were going to do everything they could to take this from, to knock off, the state champ, right? They knew Bernie wasn't going to just lay down, obviously, and Bernie was going to make them take it, and that's what Salina was trying to do. And then you had Bernie, who was just refusing, right? They were as you started seeing it settle in the second half, you started seeing them have more and more of the ball, right? More and more of the clearer opportunities. And that said, Salina was keeping them honest, and Salina was really defending hard, defending strong, very 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 tough match, obviously, but they really dug in their heels and were doing everything they could to hold off Bernie, and they did. It goes into overtime. 4 minutes into and the interesting piece was you saw this was the first of 3 matches where there was a penalty awarded in 3 of the 5 matches today. So you get this penalty is awarded, and then sure enough, Sam Thies wins the penalty. Jess Gonzalez converts 2-1 Bernie, and then Salina, I should say, uh, also playing the last 15 minutes, I think, down a man because of yellow card accumulation. So, but the big thing in this one, I think, what really stood out, because Salina still had their moments, they still had opportunities, but big shout out to we talked about it yesterday, right? We love goalkeepers. Bernie goalkeeper, Noah Lamaster just he had 5 saves, and they were 5 critical ones, right? They came in crucial moments, and he was the difference. He was the difference. Especially there was one late there where Salina came close to getting one, came out, popped up, got big, and he was able to, stop one. So, and congratulations to, Bernie goalkeeper Noah Lemaster, he was also selected as the final MVP. So congratulations, congratulations both teams. Salina comes up one game short. They end the season 21-4-1 on the year, and they end up the state runner up. And the Bernie Greyhounds, they finished the season 26-2-1. And congratulations to both the Greyhounds and Coach Strong, as they are your 2022 4A boys state champion. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna bring in our guest here to help talk the next one. He is Mr. Mike Youngblood of the Texan Live. Mike, how are you?
I'm excited, man. We got a state championship on the line tomorrow night. It's been a fun journey to follow, and I'm really happy for everybody in that community. It's I know they're not going to sleep. I probably won't either, but I have far less on the line. I'm just going to be sitting in the seats tomorrow night.
Yeah, so in addition to being part of one of the play-by-play announcers for the Texan Live, Mike is also the voice of the Lake Travis Cavaliers. So kind of part of the reason why we wanted to have him on here for a few minutes while we discuss the breakdown of the Woodlands and Lake Travis. And so this was our first 6A boys semifinal match of the night. So again, Conroe the Woodlands comes in at 21-1-2 on the season. Austin Lake Travis comes in 22-3, and this was an interesting one, maybe a little bit of a tricky one. We talked about it before for Lake Travis, having seen the Woodlands back on January 13th, in which they defeated them. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 5-1 or 5-2?
It was 5-1.
5-1, right? Yeah, okay. It just didn't sound right for some reason. So yeah. So tell us a little bit about how, from your perspective, your point of view, some of the things you saw as it played out in the first half, Mike.
Sure. I think Coach had alluded the previous time they'd met, there was COVID issues on both sides, and it's preseason tournament. So, I've seen it in other sports, especially, that just like you can't always buy too much into it. And watching the Woodlands the previous weekend, I wasn't blown away, but I knew they were good enough to defensively try to lock things down and potentially give them a match. And it was pretty tight early. At the first goal scored off a penalty kick off I guess it just they centered it, the ball took a bounce, and I caught an arm, and Ben Platt just boom off the penalty shot. And I felt at that moment that I just didn't think the Woodlands had enough offensively to really try to hang in a match like that. That regional the previous weekend, I think they were really good fortune. They're a great club, and we talked about the fact that this wasn't really the most experienced group. So to get to this stage was no disrespect to them whatsoever, but having to get through MacArthur versus Duncanville for the finals, I think what was beneficial for them for a team I think they matched up fairly well with, whereas Duncanville had a lot of explosiveness and a lot of high quality playmakers that just didn't put it together. So I came in thinking that this was probably a 2-0 kind of match for Lake Travis, and yeah, I completely impressed. That you could tell there's some nerves early, definitely. But then as the match wore on, and once they get the second goal, it was just they played their style. They played with rhythm, passed the ball extremely well, and I think you can argue that there's probably been a couple more goals they could have put in. So, certainly no complaints. It was a lot of fun to watch, and we're really happy for everybody in Lake Travis to hopefully get some sleep tonight and sleep in their own beds and get ready for a state final tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely that first half. It was interesting. Those first couple of minutes, the jitters were there just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. And I think, Coach Bam will tell you that. I think some of the experienced players on that team, Ben Platt, Alex Bethke, they'll probably tell you that. But they get 13 minutes in, they're awarded that penalty, right? Ben Platt puts it away, and that just kind of helped settle things in a little bit, right? And it always helps when you get a penalty like that and you convert. And so 13 minutes in, they were up one. They're up 1-0. They went into that. They went into halftime up 1-0. But I was discussing it with Rafa during that, as that first half was winding down. That it's like, hey, okay, they're kind of squandering some opportunities because they realistically they should have probably been up another goal or two going into the half. But they came out, they remained composed, and then Alex, I don't know if Alex Bethke is actually getting the credit for both of those in the second half. I know he got the one, the other one was initially
Off the defender, it was
being called a
the
known
center
goal.
back got out there.
Right.
He was just kind of putting his leg out to try to
Right.
deflect it and went right into the goal. So
Yeah, so
it
known goal.
was very tepid celebration. So I went back and watched a bit of the replay to go back and see just what the heck happened there. But yeah, I mean, they're like, I agree with you. There's probably a number of opportunities they could have capitalized on too as well.
Yeah, it was very much, I think, an extremely and people hear 3-0 and they might think different things, but maybe it's like, oh, okay, so it wasn't that that much of a blowout, or no, it was pretty convincing. This one was very much dominant and one-sided by Lake Travis, and the Woodlands could not get anything to go their way, hence the own goal as well. They had a rough go of it and just had a hard time of generating any true attack, as you mentioned. So what, from your perspective, Rafa, what do you think of this one?
I mean, I know like Travis probably was maybe a little nervous because it was a rematch from the beginning of the season, and things can change from the beginning to this point, and knowing that they had to put them away right away, not to give them any type of hope. And I think it had, well, the Woodlands maybe scored first, maybe the result might be different, because that would have probably raised their confidence level up and really kind of put more pressure into Lake Travis. But I think, like you mentioned, getting that PK kind of settled things down for them. And I think what I noticed with Lake Travis, once they get a lead, they're in full control, and they take care of business. And that's what they did. They just kind of flexed their muscle on the Woodlands and just didn't give them any hope to, like, hey, you're not going to get in this game. We're going to control this. And that was the end result. So, like you said, kudos to them. I know it was a game like, okay, it was a rematch, and you can go either way. You never know the second result. It's always tough to be. It's always tough to be teams. Yeah, it's always tough to be at a team twice, or even like some teams, like the case with Bernie Champion and Drippy Spring Girls. It was tough to be at a third time. So you don't know what adjustments they can see from you or from film, and end up showing them there at the game. So, but kudos, like I said, to Lake Travis. They took care of business, and now they're in the final.
Yeah, and so that one, and the big thing. So obviously, congratulations on a great season. Great season to the Woodlands. They finished the season 21-2, and up to this point, and here's where the stat that I'm about to mention is kind of a little bit even more mind-blowing, is up to this point, their only loss of the season was that loss to Lake Travis, right? So, and so they finished the season 21-2, the only two losses of the season, both to Lake Travis. And they make the run to the state tournament. And at the start of this season, one of the mind-blowing stats about them was they had 11 players on this roster with no varsity experience whatsoever at the start of this season, and 4 more that only had 1 year of varsity experience. That is pretty phenomenal. So I don't know how you can walk away. If you're the Highlanders, there's no way you can walk away from this season thinking that it wasn't a success. Because they did, and they're on their road back, a highly respected program out of the greater Houston area. So I think we're going to hear from them again very soon. So congratulations to them on a fine, outstanding season. And Lake Travis goes to 23-3 on the season. They advance to tomorrow's state final, which is slated for 6:30 p.m. So they will face the winner of this next match that we're going to discuss Katy Seven Lakes and Plano. So this match, our nightcap match, and boy was it a nightcap. It was an interesting one, and it was at times a defensive battle, kind of a little bit at times you could argue, just a little slow at times. The teams were trying to create things, and not boring by any means, but those last 20 minutes were like edge of your seat. Like they waited for all the action for the final 20 minutes of the match. So this was a game that was 1-0, 1-0 with 20 minutes remaining, and then off of a corner, or not a corner kick, I'm sorry, a penalty that Seven Lakes was able to convert, and they were winning 1-0, 1-0. And then you see 4 goals in the final 20 minutes, including Plano striker Nolan Giles. He scores a hat trick in a span of about 18 minutes. Seven Lakes comes back, scores on a free kick just outside of the 18-yard box with 2 minutes remaining, and then just Seven Lakes just kind of ran out of time. You saw 4 goals in the final 20 minutes, 3 goals in I think the final 12 minutes, and Seven Lakes just kind of ran out of time, and you almost got the impression that both teams were trying to squander the lead at different points. So it was an entertaining final 20 minutes, but this one finishes Plano 3, Katy Seven Lakes 2. So congratulations to the Spartans, Seven Lakes Spartans. They finished the season 22-3, and Plano goes to 24-3 on the season, and they will advance to play in tomorrow's 6A Boys State Championship Final at 6:30 p.m. So, Mike, thoughts on Lake Travis facing Plano? This is a team with 6, obviously, clearly the pedigree in terms of 6 state titles, and they're kind of on that. A lot of people are saying they're on that march back, right, to prominence. So, your thoughts on that tomorrow?
Boy, I don't know how either team's going to be able to defend each other. I saw Giles, man, he could really fly, and they had some. That was an incredibly fun second half to watch. I think Lake Travis first getting over that hump of just the nerves of the state semifinals to get through your routine. Like it's a lot of emotion ramping up into that.
Right.
Okay, you avenged the regional final loss last year. Now you take the next step, and I watched towards the end of the match on the LT side that it was like, I think this team found its composure, and they have enough seniors and guys that have been in this mode all year to try to maximize what they got. Now it's a whole other story when you're taking on a program like Plano that just got so much prestige. And that I mentioned it, I think the last time, that I think this is just the kind of group that's probably not going to get too caught up in that they know their mission, they know their style. But it seems to me whoever's going to defend better is going to win, because they both can put it in the net.
Yeah. That's very simple and yet very well stated.
Yeah, it's a simple game sometimes.
Right. Thoughts, Rafa?
I think, honestly, the better team didn't win this game. Really? Seven Lakes should have won this game. They're just better technically sound. They touched the ball better, but 3 defensive mistakes, that should have never happened, cost them an opportunity to go to the state final. And I think this is now, looking at Plano really relies on the long ball, and I think Lake Travis can, defend that. They cannot, really, they're going to have to contain, Plano's leading scorer, because he can score goals in bunches. They're going to have to be very disciplined, not let him make runs from the back and so get behind them. I was in awe about when I'm watching those final minutes when Plano had the ball, and me being a coach, I'm like, take the ball to the corner, kill some clock, and they were still trying to and that's how they gave Seven Lakes that second goal, because they were trying to get. I know you want to score another one, but you're gonna have to have some discipline and maintain possession, and it came close, because they had Seven Lakes had one last shot and they just couldn't get it in. So they ran out of time. So, and I think LT is going to be the favorite on this game, but they just have to be aware of making containment of keeping away the Plano from using that long ball, and that's going to be the key of the game. And then also like LT was scoring early. If they can score early and kind of enforce their style play, they'll have no problem winning the state title.
No.
Yeah, and I think with Lake Travis too, I think looking at both of these teams and having seen Lake Travis enough, um, I think they're the clearly better organized defensive team. You look at their playoff performance. They've allowed I think their goal differential is plus 18 or 19. I think they've scored 22 goals and have only allowed 4. And this includes against this has been their run in the playoffs. They Round Rock, Schertz Clemens, Austin Vandergrift, Harlan, Northside Harlan, San Antonio Harlan, and San Antonio Reagan. And you look at those, the only one that they've given up they gave up one to Harlan early, and then they got that back. And they've given up to the anomaly there is Clemens, right? Schertz Clemens giving up 3 to them.
But I think a lot of those were late.
Right.
They got up like huge, really early.
Right. Well, yeah, that final score was 7-3. So yeah, I'm sure. And that's kind of my point, right? And then you look at today's performance. You look at today's performance as well versus the Woodlands, and it's a 3-0 performance. So from that perspective, I think you kind of have to say maybe advantage Lake Travis, but this is why we still play the game, And then you look at Plano's playoff run has included a 2-1 win over Denton Geyer, a Richardson Lake Highlands 2-0 win, defeated Allen 1-0. They defeated a very good El Paso East Lake squad 3-1, and then defeated a very, very strong Keller squad 2-1. And then, of course, today's performance versus Seven Lakes. So Plano has a pretty strong resume out there too. They've shown that they can figure out teams with different styles as well. So Lake Travis is definitely going to have to come ready.
I want to pose this to you too. Okay, so Lake Travis plays like the 5:00 game. Plano wins the 7:00 game. It's gonna be like 7:00 tomorrow. Like
it'll be 6:30.
I never played. I don't know what the Lakes would feel like after. Yeah, I think Lake Travis didn't necessarily have to turn on the Jets in the last like 20 minutes of that match. For Plano, like their momentum swing was incredible. But I'm just kind of curious from your guys' perspective as far as like what is the fitness like? Is it an advantage to probably be sleeping in your own bed as the home team versus being together? And I have no idea what they're doing. So I just wanted to pose that question to y'all.
My personal thing, and being a player and also being a coach, I remember playing 3 games in a day in tournaments, and then travel wise, even like I said, when I started coaching, going with the club, high school and also with club, sleeping in your own bed is an advantage because it's your comfort zone. Oh, no doubt. And then also like for Plano, they had to drive down here from the Metroplex, and I'm sure that took a little toll on them. But I think if what's going to come down to who is physically fit, who's at top tip shape, and what I'm seeing, like I said, I haven't seen much cramping. As long as you take care of your body, I think one of the things I used to do with players is put them in the where they had a jacuzzi in the hotel, get them there for a good 8 minutes, and then get them out and get them a shower up and go to bed, and just to get the relax their muscles and have them being hydrated. And I think that's what it comes to, who's physically more fit, and that's what I think that for me and from my experience, that's going to determine. Sometimes that determines the outcomes of the games and so forth. So, but like I said, I think I'm gonna, you got to give Lake Travis a chance because they're sleeping at home, they're in their environment, they're in their comfort zone. So that's helpful for a player.
Tomorrow's forecast will be a scorcher. It'll probably be the hottest day we've had in a while, and I think. The one good thing for this one will be the fact that it's taking place at 6:30. So I think it'll probably be about I think it's looking like about 88, 89 degrees at their kickoff. So manageable, but still, again, they're coming around, and it hasn't been. Tomorrow will be a warm one for sure.
I also think it's also nice, I think, from Lake Travis's perspective, that they get to watch that Seven Lakes game where, yeah, Plano has to get themselves ready for it versus you've won, you know what your destiny is. You can really hopefully lock in and prepare. I don't know how much of it gives an edge per se, because you got to be an excellent coaching staff to get your team program ready. But I think that's a nice little hidden advantage, is you get to kind of watch it in the stands and get yourself prepared for the perspective of mind of, okay, well, who do we got here? So I can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be a great one. We got a great slate of games tomorrow. So starting at 11 a.m., we'll go through quickly. We'll go through the full schedule here. So 11 a.m. tomorrow, we'll kick off the day with so we'll start off with both the 5A finals followed by the 6A finals. 11 a.m. will be the first one. It'll be our 5A girls final between Frisco Wakeland and Grapevine, followed by approximately 1:30 p.m. the 5A boys final between Dripping Springs and Frisco Wakeland. Approximately 4 p.m., we kick off the 6A action, 6A girls final between Rockwall and South Lake Carroll. And then the nightcap, the final one, the grand finale, the last game of the 2022 Texas high school soccer season, 6:30 p.m., approximately 6A boys final between Austin Lake Travis Cavaliers and the Plano Wildcats. So it'll be a good one. I think it'll be a dandy. So, all right. Well, final thoughts before we wrap up. Again, for our listeners, we will not be coming to you as our final wrap up tomorrow. Both Rafa and I will be at the San Antonio FC game. So we had other, while still watching this and covering this stuff, but we'll be at another game as well. So we will be coming your way to wrap up championship Saturday on Sunday at 4 p.m. So let's go ahead and let's wrap this one up. Mike, final thoughts?
Shout out to Lou Rush, who was doing commentary and the play-by-play for all of these matches. I imagine Lou's got to be really tired because you're talking about doing 4 matches per day. And listening to him, I worked beside him last year in the state championship, so it was just kind of cool to take a really sharp today. I enjoyed listening. So part of the Texan live staff, he's a bit of a freelancer, but loves soccer, and I thought he did a terrific job today. So I have no idea if he's going to watch this, but shout out to Lou. Great job. I enjoyed catching both the games today.
Yeah, no, he had 5. They had 5 matches the last 2 days. 5 matches the last 2 days.
I did 4 in that previous regional tournament, and I then you do the 2 the following day, and I'm just wiped out. I was not in the mood for talking. So that's tough work being done by that crew, especially the camera crew and production crew. They're putting together the replays. That's part of our staff there at Texan Live that works through NFHS. So I want to give those guys their due because they're kind of unsung heroes to me. Just that I was able to enjoy it from home today.
All right, awesome. And to Mr. Campeón de Campeones, Rafa, what final thoughts?
Just final thoughts. Just looking forward for tomorrow's finals. It should be interesting matchups, a lot of great matchups. So good luck to all the teams. And also tomorrow, start of the Copa Tejas between SAFC and El Paso. We're looking forward for that. Hopefully we'll get a win. And then just also a shout out to the Salina Lady Bobcats Twitter page, giving us a shout out. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Congratulations again on winning your state title as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Coach Adams, that community, their boosters and their supporters. Thank you for the kind words as well. Unfortunate that they couldn't deliver the double obviously today with the boys, but still, I mean, going down as the state runner-up, there's no shame in that whatsoever. And they played a heck of a final against a very good Bernie squad. So they gave us a great final as well, just like the girls did yesterday. So my final thought, kind of a brief shout out, something that we tweeted out earlier today. Coach Garcia, the Rockwall girls head coach. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. It's awesome. It's like the final. Yeah, the final countdown, the final seconds of their big upset win over Ridge Point today in the semifinal, and she is just like losing it in a good way, right? Just happy tears, tears of joy. She's consoled by her other coaches, administrators, bring her on her feet, and it was just it's kind of one of those moments as a coach, as a parent, as a player that you love to see, and it's what Texas high school soccer is really all about. It's kind of strikes at the core of why we all do this, right? We're more accustomed to seeing it from players, obviously, in terms of the joy of victory and sometimes the agony of defeat, but we don't see it as often from coaches. But it's when it's obviously natural, it's organic, it's a pretty awesome thing, pretty humbling thing to see. So shout out to Coach Garcia from Rockwall as well. So all right, guys. So thank you again. Appreciate you. To our supporters, thank you for all your support. Thank you for all the kind words. Please continue to listen. Again, you can find us on social, both on Twitter at 50_50 pod, as well as on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. And you can also listen to the audio. Again, you can listen to the audio podcast on all major podcast platforms. Go on there, give us a review if you think if you like us, if you think we stink, give us some positive feedback, how we can make it better.
Smash the like button on the YouTube. So.
Absolutely. And shout out to our special guest here tonight, Mike, as well as another special guest, little pup of his that he had joining us on here. Doesn't make for great radio.
I knew Foster Chaser is the rare moment he's tired and he doesn't want to be jumping all over me. So
there you go.
Awesome. So go Cavs. Go Cavs.
All right. We appreciate you. Thank you again. And we will see you. Good luck to, again, everyone, all winners that advance today to the state finals tomorrow. Congratulations. Teams whose season ended today, congratulations on tremendous seasons. And then also crowning another state champion in Coach Strong and his Bernie Greyhounds. Job well done in making history in the greater San Antonio area. So till the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time,